Hello, everybody. My name is Sydney, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the book Getting Things Done: The Art of Stress-Free Productivity by David Allen. David Allen is this guy right here. He's the creator of the Getting Things Done method, the exact method that this book focuses on, and he's also a productivity consultant and has gained a lot of popularity amongst a lot of people about his productivity methods and what he teaches. So, just like every other book and every other self help book, he focuses on one main problem, and he kind of focuses in on that because this is a really huge problem amongst all cultures, and a lot of different people tend to suffer from it. And that exact problem is the fact that we have new demands but insufficient resources. So, this is how he explains the feeling of being overwhelmed or not being able to finish tasks. Over the years, he tends to say that we've actually gotten a lot of change. So, life is essentially about change, and even though we've improved quality of life, we're also adding on to our stress levels and how much we are expected to do, whether that be because of technology or any job offering like that. He really tends to see this fact that we have so many expectations and so many different demands as a way of explaining why we tend to get really overwhelmed. The lines are also blurred between our work life and our home life, and we really don't know what to do and how to handle this whole situation. See, back in the day, David Allen explains that when we were farmers, and even in the 1950s, we had a very focused job. Our lives consisted of one main task that we had to do, or several main tasks that focused mainly on one main area. And this is where our problem lies. So now let's talk about the focus of the book. David Allen uses the wonderful analogy of having your mind like water. Essentially, he means that you have to free your mind and react and flow as things are thrown your way, and you have to be willing to change. And in order to do this, you have to clear your mind. So, what does this mean exactly? Well, if it's on your mind, then your mind isn't clear. We tend to overthink things and not act upon things. And the reason that things are on your mind and you get stressed is because you want it to be different than it currently is. But you haven't clarified exactly what the intended outcome of your action is. You haven't decided what your next physical step is, and you also don't put reminders of the outcome and the action required in a system that you trust. This is all just a fancy way of saying that basically the GTD method focuses on two main components: outcome versus action, defining what done looks like and then what doing actually looks like. So this leads us on to the 5-step process that he talks about, and this is where you can go to. Step 1 is capture. Capture kind of goes into this thing of idea capture. It means writing down ideas and thoughts that are potentially meaningful, and you're making a commitment to yourself that you will go back to this idea. It's deciding and identifying what has your attention. To do this, you have to, firstly, write it down and talk about it to yourself. And you're just making a promise to yourself that whatever idea flows into your head and flows into your mind is something that you'll definitely put your attention to later on down the line, especially if you don't have the time to do it right now. This is really important because you really want to know what you're doing before you even do it. So once you get your ideas down on paper, wherever that may be, you can go on to step number 2, which is clarifying. Clarifying is essentially asking yourself what each item means and what to do with it later down the line. Is it actionable? Meaning, can you act upon it? And you can see in this flowchart, this is an easy step-by-step way of doing it. But if it isn't actionable, then you can either throw it away or keep it for reference. If it is actionable and the task can be finished within 2 minutes or less, you do it immediately. No questions asked. This can be something like an email. If your professor emails you or a colleague emails you, you can answer their question or reply on the spot and do it. Just get it over with. And if it can be finished in less than 2 minutes, then you have to move on to step number 3, which is organize. Organize step is basically you prioritize your information on 3 main criteria. Number 1 is project, the process of grouping certain tasks that all work towards a common goal altogether. This can be information for a presentation or even organizing your birthday party. Number 2 is time. If something has a time constraint, make sure you indicate when it needs to be done or when an event is happening, like an anniversary or birthday. Number 3 is context, a note about a task that tells you who, what, and when this task needs to be done. Something like grocery list or a store that you need to go to later down the line. This is where people may get a little confused, but if you get stumped in this area, the only question you need to ask is, what is my next action? If you're ever at a standstill or being overwhelmed, recenter yourself and plan the next step. You don't need to know every single step along the way, just what you're going to do next. The non-actionable items that we mentioned earlier is where you can categorize in either the trash pile, a reference pile, or put it in the someday category. So if we're connecting it to entrepreneurship and you have an amazing idea to start a new business, this is where you can kind of put it back if you don't have any money or resources and put a time limit on it. When are you going to get back to it? 3 months, 6 months, 1 year? And this is where you need to go from here. Next is step number 4, which is reflect. My favorite step. You have to evaluate and check on your system to see that you set up something that is functional. Is everything where it needs to be? Are there things that can be improved? Whether this is once a month or a couple times a week, this is a great thing to do, a great practice, because if you don't have a functional system and you don't check on it, how are you going to know it works? And then finally, we have our engage step. This is just essentially doing the task that you've done all these steps for. Get along with it. This step takes all the hard work you just did and just lets you apply it to the goals and the things that you want to do down the line. So now is for the final question. Should I read this book? Is this book just 300 pages of some old rich white guy telling me what to do with my life? And I would say pretty much, but it's still worth the read. There is so much information in this book. The 5-step process that I just talked about is only just a small fraction of what's in there, but it's the main central points. If you want to know everything from every little detail about each individual process, or if you even want to know a whole chapter about organizing your desk space and the best way to do it, I would definitely recommend it. Here's some pros and cons from the book. Pros, it is a very versatile book and can be applied to everybody. The feeling of being overwhelmed is universal. We have felt it all, whether that be in school or jobs. And it has something for everybody. There's tips on physical organization, like I just mentioned, and just the 5-step process, but there's also a spiritual aspect. He talks about optimism and how you can improve your life through that. It really genuinely feels like the author only wants the best for you and is actually looking out for you. It gives you a system that can be changed and molded into your personal preferences. And this applies to entrepreneurship heavily, because by the act of doing it your own way and getting things off your mind, getting it down on paper, and actually doing something actually forces you to do the thing that you've been saying you wanted to do for ages. Business you wanted to start doesn't seem as intimidating anymore. And this is a great way of breaking it down step by step and being able to get back to things or getting all the small little inconvenient stuff out the way. I definitely recommend it because of that. The only cons that I had for this book was essentially it was very, very repetitive. He talked about every little detail you possibly can about each step in each process. And sometimes that's causes you to pick and choose what you need to read. Because there's so much versatile information, you have to skim at times and find the things that actually meets your needs and your standards for the book. There was a whole chapter, like I said, about organizing your desk. And if this is something that you definitely need, then yeah, go for it. So all in all, this book has a lot of great information that can be easily applied to every aspect of your life. That can be school, jobs, personal life, but it's all about just prioritizing things, seeing what is most important in your life and just making it so much easier. If anything has ever felt overwhelming to you, I definitely recommend this 5-step process. And say if you don't want to look into the book too much and you just want a general overall view of it, there are so many TEDx videos and TED Talk videos and organizational tips from this guy that you can look up, and everything works. I practiced this thing for about a week or so, and it helped me immensely. All the little emails I needed to do, all the small busy work assignments that I had to do, and all the stuff that I had to do at home, even cleaning, just got done pretty easily by reminding myself what the next step is. So overall, I had a pretty great experience with this book. It's a hard hit at sometimes, which is good. It really calls you out. And for me, when I read self-help books, I want to be called out and evaluated. It gave different perspectives to systems I never would have thought out. And the simple act of reviewing your system is something I never really thought about in general, but it is very imperative. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching my video. I hope it was fun to look at and fun to watch, and I hope you took something away from it. Thank you so much, and make sure to check out David Allen's book of Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity. See you soon.